Hello, welcome to the Daily News Ukraine channel. Today is March 8th and our daily review of news about Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky has congratulated all Ukrainian women on International Women's Day and expressed gratitude to all the wives, mothers, and those who are currently defending Ukraine. The greeting text was published on the president's website, Ukrinform reports. Today is International Women's Day, a day of struggle for women's rights. I think it is important to express gratitude today. To all the women who work, teach, study, rescue, heal, fight for Ukraine. To remember and thank all the women who gave their lives for our country. To thank mothers. To remember that as long as your mom is alive, you can feel like a child. To thank your loved ones for their respect and strength, the president said. Zelensky noted that every year on this day, he expresses gratitude to his mother, wife, and female colleagues. And today we can say different words, pay attention to different aspects of this day. Everyone has an opinion on how and what to do on this day, March 8th. And this is our strength. This is freedom. We are equal, we are free, we are in a strong Ukraine, the president said. In turn, UK's ambassador to Ukraine Melinda Simmons on International Women's Day addressed the Ukrainian women who suffered from the Russian invasion with words of support and faith that those guilty of war crimes will be punished. The ambassador posted her address on Twitter. The Swedish government has announced the allocation of almost €11 million to support women and girls in Ukraine and Moldova. This is said in a press release issued by the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Sweden, Ukrinform reports. It is noted that this support is intended to strengthen the two countries' efforts to meet the humanitarian needs of women and girls and promote their opportunities and rights in both the short and the long term. In addition, it is also intended to help rebuild and reinforce Ukraine's healthcare system and infrastructures that have been severely affected by Russia's attacks. Read also, Ukraine strives to have everyone respect human rights, make women's role undeniable. Lubnitz in Moldova, the support will assist internally displaced women and girls. A total of almost €9 million will go to Ukraine and Moldova through UNFPA, while about €2 million will go to Ukraine through UN Women. Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine and attacks on health and medical care facilities have life-threatening consequences for women and girls. These earmarked funds can be used for life-saving assistance through additional mobile health clinics, equipment to prevent maternal and infant mortality, and protection and support for victims of conflict-related sexual violence. This is fully in line with the government's development assistance priorities, mitigating the effects of the war in Ukraine, says Minister for International Development Cooperation and Foreign Trade Johan Fursell. As reported by Ukrinform in February, Prime Minister of Sweden Ulf Kristersson stated that Sweden has provided Ukraine with €1.2 billion, including €135 million in humanitarian aid. Photo, Picture Alliance/D, Cocker. Units of the Naval Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine eliminated 22 Russian invaders in the past day, March 7. This was reported by the Naval Forces on Telegram, according to Ukrinform. Last day, units of the Naval Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine eliminated 22 occupiers, the report says. Read also, Air Defense Forces destroy 2 Russian kamikaze drones at night. The final losses of Russian invaders are being clarified. As reported by Ukrinform, the Defense Forces of Ukraine from February 24, 2022 to March 8, 2023 eliminated about 155,530 Russian soldiers, including 700 invaders in the past day alone. On the night of Wednesday, March 8, Ukrainian Defense Forces destroyed 2 enemy drones of the Shahed 131/136 type. The Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine said this in a Telegram post, Ukrinform reports. At midnight on March 8, Air Defense Forces destroyed 2 Iranian-made kamikaze drones Shahed 131/136, which the invaders used to attack Ukraine from the northern direction, the report says. Read also, Ukrainian forces repel more than 100 enemy attacks in Donetsk region as Ukrinform reported. from February 24, 2022 to March 8, 2023, the Defense Forces of Ukraine eliminated about 155,530 Russian soldiers. In Ukraine's Kharkiv region, Russian troops shelled at least 18 settlements in Kharkiv, Kyiv, and Kupiansk districts over the past day, and made an unsuccessful offensive attempt toward the village of Kyiv. That's according to the head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, Ola Syniehubov, who reported the news on Telegram. Ukrinform saw. The enemy tried to go on the offensive in the Kyiv district, but retreated with losses. Throughout the day, the village of Dvorikna of the Kupiansk district and the town of Vovchansk of the Kyiv district have come under intense fire as the enemy employed mortars, MLR systems, tanks, and warplanes, he noted. According to Syniehubov, no civilian casualties were reported. Read also, Russian military death toll in Ukraine climbs to 155,530. Ukraine's bomb squads neutralized 73 explosive devices across the region. At the same time, the MINT threat remains high in the area, the official stressed. As Ukrinform reported earlier, referring to the General Staff of the Armed Forces, on March 7, the Russian invaders launched 24 airstrikes and a missile attack, as well as fired MLR systems over 60 times. The ambassadors of the Group of 7 Nations congratulated Seaman Krivonos on his appointment as director of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, warning him against bowing down to any political interference in the bureau's operations. This was stated on Twitter by Japan's chairmanship of the G7 group of ambassadors in Kyiv, reports Ukrinform. G7 ambassadors congratulate Seaman Krivonos on his appointment as the new director of NABU. We will closely monitor the bureau's performance, which must be free from any political and other interference, given the vital role it plays in Ukraine's fight against corruption, the tweet reads. Read also, NABU puts former NBU governor on wanted list. As reported earlier, on March 6, the Cabinet of Ministers appointed Seaman Krivonos as director of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. The mission of the International Monetary Fund has launched discussions with the Ukrainian authorities regarding the potential cooperation program. That's according to a statement by IMF's resident representative to Ukraine Varum Stepanyan, seen by Ukrinform. An IMF mission, led by Gavin Gray, starts policy discussions today with the Ukrainian authorities on a potential fund-supported program, the statement said. Read also, Shmihal, head of IMF's European Department, talk new cooperation program. As reported by Ukrinform, from March 8 to 15, the mission of the International Monetary Fund will work in Warsaw to discuss parameters of the potential future program with Ukraine. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is on an official visit to Kyiv. According to Tejeshja, Guterres arrived in Kyiv on the night of March 8, Ukrinform reports. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres arrived in Ukraine on a visit. Press Secretary Stefan Dujarric said that he arrived in Kyiv overnight, Wednesday, edition, the publication says. The report was later confirmed by the UN press service. Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is in Kyiv. Later today, he will meet President Zelensky in Kyiv to discuss the continuation of the Black Sea Grain Initiative in all its aspects, as well as other pertinent issues, the tweet reads. Read also, Ukraine's envoy urges UN not to let Russia chair Security Council in April. This is the UN chief's third visit to Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion. As Ukrinform reported earlier, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on March 8 will meet in Kyiv with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine to discuss the continuation of the grain agreement. The threat of missile attacks remains in place across Ukraine, even though the Russians keep all of their missile carriers at their naval bases. That's according to Natalia Humeniuk, head of the Southern Defense Forces Joint Press Center, who spoke at the national telethon, Ukrinform reports. The threat of strikes hasn't gone anywhere even despite the fact that all the missile carriers are currently at their bases. Before that, for several days, they kept on combat duty, 3 to 5 warships at sea, then it was 2 carriers. One way or another, they flexed their muscles in an attempt to demonstrate their presence and might, Humeniuk said. She noted that deploying and withdrawing missile carriers is an element of hybrid warfare as the enemy tries to keep the tension high. Read also, U.S. considering mounting Western air-to-air missiles on Ukrainian MiGs. Media. According to the official, it only takes a few hours for the missile carriers to return to combat duty, so the situation might change dynamically. Hypothetically, missile launches are possible from base points, too, and the enemy can take such desperate steps, although it is rather risky, Humeniuk added. As reported earlier, the spokesperson stated that Russia had changed its tactics of launching strikes on the territory of Ukraine. Now they fire missiles from the north, at the same time keeping missile carriers in the south and deploying warplanes, too. U.S. Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken and Lithuanian Foreign Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis met on March 6 in Washington, D.C., underscoring the strength of the U.S.-Lithuania relationship as NATO allies and close partners, as well as deep cooperation on a broad range of topics, including on support for Ukraine. That's according to their joint statement, Ukrinform reports citing the State Department's press service. Secretary Blinken and Foreign Minister Landsbergis confirmed the unwavering support of the United States and Lithuania for Ukraine as it defends its territory and democracy from Russia's brutal and unprovoked invasion, the statement reads. The two leaders committed to continue imposing strong economic costs on Russia through sanctions and pursuing accountability for those responsible for Russia's attacks. Read also, Lithuanian Defense Ministry preparing new aid package for Ukraine. They also pledged to continue to provide the support Ukraine needs to alleviate the suffering of its people and to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders until Ukraine prevails, while encouraging allies and partners to do the same, says the joint statement. They reiterated their call for Russia to immediately stop its war of aggression against Ukraine and withdraw all its forces and military equipment from Ukraine's territory. Blinken and Landsbergis committed to work together to enhance NATO's deterrence and defense and to strengthen NATO's partnership with Ukraine to advance its Euro-Atlantic aspirations. Blinken and Landsbergis also endorsed efforts by academia and civil society to increase resilience in the face of propaganda and false narratives. Today we were talking about those news. President congratulates women on holiday, thanks those who fight for Ukraine. Sweden allocates €11 million to support women in Ukraine, Moldova. Naval Forces units eliminate 22 Russian soldiers in past day. Air Defense Forces destroy 2 Russian kamikaze drones at night. Enemy retreats in Kharkiv region following failed assault. Region's chief. G7 envoys to new NABU director, Bureau's work must be free from political interference. IMF mission kicks off discussions with Ukraine on new program. UN's Guterres arrives in Kyiv. Threat of missile strikes remains despite Russia keeping no carriers off Crimea coast. Army spox. Blinken, Landsbergis reaffirm support for Ukraine.